What is your true level of familiarity with those closest to you? You trust them with your life, your secrets, and your heart? According to Gloria Whitmore, she was aware. Her life was centered on her belief in love, loyalty, and family values. Trust, however, may be risky at times. At the age of 67, Gloria passed away, leaving behind more than just memories. What she left behind rocked her family to its foundations and exposed a tale no one could have foreseen. A betrayal that went deeper than anyone could have guessed, and a $1.7 million insurance payment meant not to her daughter or her husband, but to someone nobody could have suspected. Gloria remained silent, hiding a terrible truth that would only be revealed when it was too late. Her life, her decisions, and her eventual justice would tell a tale that was begging to be told. Finally, the issue that still has to be answered is, why? Follow along with me as we discover the truth. Here at Unseen True Crime Story HQ, welcome. I want to express my gratitude to my subscribers and viewers in particular for their support as we continue to grow and provide both untold and told real crime tales every day. Just a friendly reminder to subscribe to this channel. The life of Gloria Whitmore served as an example of perseverance. Her humble upbringing taught her the importance of perseverance and hard effort. She never received life as a gift. Instead, she had to work hard and persevere to earn each step she took. Gloria's tale is one of a lady who refused to allow her situation to define her. It was one of reinvention. When Gloria was younger, she wed her first spouse, whom she believed would be her lifelong companion. Together, they created a family and envisioned a stable, loving future. Dreams, however, don't always go as expected. After her husband passed away too soon, she was left a young widow with a kid to nurture and no future plans. Gloria worked diligently for years to support Tessa, her only child. She put a lot of effort into her work and worked her way up the real estate ladder, where her good sense and attention to detail brought her recognition and financial success. Gloria's principles, which are firmly anchored in honesty, trust, and family, kept her grounded despite her career accomplishments. Her whole universe revolved on her love for Tessa. Gloria was committed to provide her daughter all the things she had not had as a child. She gave her access to the greatest schools and opulent holidays. However, love is complicated and relationships don't always work out the way we want them to. Tessa was emotionally aloof, yet pampered by Gloria's sacrifices as a child. Gloria wanted to teach her daughter self-control and appreciation, but Tessa often saw her mother's attempts as domineering. They developed a weak link as a result of this tension, one that Gloria tried very hard to fortify, but that always appeared to be just out of reach. After many years, Gloria began a want for company. At that point, a 53-year-old guy named Vincent Holloway came into her life. Vincent captivated others with his charisma and exuberance. He was 13 years her younger, and he appeared to provide Gloria with something she had been lacking, a feeling of vibrancy, someone with whom she could share her accomplishments and relieve her responsibilities. People were curious about their connection. Though Vincent, a guy with a history of dubious choices, appeared to thrive on Gloria's steadiness, the seasoned and financially independent lady was seen as the stabilizing factor. Public opinion, however, didn't matter to Gloria. She felt as if someone was really listening to her for the first time in years, and she allowed herself to think that Vincent had good intentions. But in her heart, Gloria knew she couldn't completely bury her misgivings. At times, Vincent's charm seemed too premeditated, and his comments seemed overly prepared. Small details, a plot that didn't quite fit together, and instances when he stared at something or someone for too long were all there. Gloria wrote these emotions off as the result of her own fears. Even though she still had some guardedness, she wanted to trust in the promise of love once again. However, Gloria's personal life had other difficulties than Vincent. The tension in her connection with Tessa persisted. As an adult now, Tessa had developed into a lady who yearned for approval and attention, but seldom ever gave back to her mother's love and hard work. Gloria found that Tessa often acted like someone who took things for granted, which was disappointing. Gloria attempted to help Tessa by giving her encouragement and guidance, but their discussions typically ended in anger. While Gloria believed her daughter was unappreciative, Tessa thought her mother was intrusive. Gloria never ceased loving Tessa in spite of the conflict. With time, she thought, they may get back together. Gloria's world began to crumble, although it was hardly noticeable at first. Gloria often felt undervalued as a result of Tessa's behavior, and Vincent's appeal started to fade. But, ever the optimist, Gloria clung to the belief that things would get better. She had once rebuilt her life, so she was convinced she could do it again. Despite growing skepticism, Gloria's love for her family remained unwavering. She tried to maintain her family for years by carefully juggling her obligations as a wife and mother. Loyalty, love, and trust are fragile concepts, and sometimes even the strongest people fail to see the impending storm until it is too late. Although Gloria had faced many challenges during her life, she would now confront one she had not anticipated, a betrayal so severe that it would completely alter her perception of loyalty, love, and family. It began with seemingly harmless moments, a longing look, a shared laugh that went on for too long, and the easy ease of closeness that made it difficult to distinguish between appropriate and inappropriate. The romance between Vincent Holloway and Tessa Whitmore didn't start off with lavish displays or clear indications. It appeared in the places where trust ought to have been, silently, almost invisibly. Gloria had fallen for Vincent against her better judgment because of his charm, which had always been a part of him. Its attention was diverted by that same charm, which was so captivating and disarming. With her lively personality and need for attention, Tessa was captivated to Vincent's kind manner. At first, it seemed that their interactions were innocuous and a continuation of the family dynamic Gloria had worked so hard to foster. Tessa's viewpoint gives this treachery an additional dimension. In her imagination, she was addressing a need rather than just having a careless affair. She had been oppressed by what she saw as Gloria's controlling love and overshadowed by her mother's fame for years. Gloria never really succeeded in making a place for herself to be noticed and appreciated, and Tessa wanted to do the same. She turned to Vincent as an escape. The compliments, the laughs, and the way he moved in just too close while they were talking made him notice her in a manner that was addictive. All of this was excitingly different from the regimented and confining connection she had with her mother. The attention-seeking turned into something more sinister. Tessa told herself that Vincent was her ally in a world where she often felt misunderstood, and that this was love. It got more difficult to conceal little instances of betrayal as their covert connection grew. Gloria, who was perceptive and perceptive, started to see little behavioral changes that eroded her confidence. Vincent, who had formerly tried to soothe her, became aloof, preoccupied, and even evasive. Even Tessa grew more elusive, her formerly aloof manner now tinged with a defiant attitude Gloria couldn't quite identify. The truth was not given to Gloria in a single instant, but rather in a sequence of events that gradually fit together like jigsaw pieces. A look that was missed, a discussion that stopped suddenly when she walked in, the unexplained tension that descended like a cloud whenever Vincent and Tessa were together. Even while the parts didn't make sense separately, when taken as a whole, they created an image Gloria could no longer ignore. It was a quiet storm when Gloria found out about the romance. Although she was reeling from the discovery, she maintained her composure on the outside. In addition to Vincent's treachery, her daughter Tessa had also crossed that boundary, which caused her great pain. Knowing or not, the two individuals to whom she had dedicated her life had plotted to destroy it. They were secretly having an affair. Gloria did not, however, confront them. She didn't yell, sob, or demand clarification. She chose quiet over commotion and kept her suffering hidden. Perhaps she was aware that nothing would change if she confronted them. She could have been afraid that speaking the truth would destroy her. Gloria chose a different course of action that nobody anticipated. Gloria met with her lawyer in private and made a silent change to her life insurance policy. Now, Rosalind Porter her faithful maid and confidant of more than 30 years, was in charge of the $1.7 million that had previously been pledged to Vincent. Gloria felt she could trust Rosalind, who had been there for all of her life's significant events. More than just a worker, Rosalind had been a quiet observer of Gloria's pleasures and hardships. Gloria could confide in her without worrying about criticism or betrayal, since she had grown to be her safe haven over time. Rosalind remained quiet when Gloria wanted her secrets protected and listened when Gloria needed to speak. The first person to notice Gloria's health problems was Rosalind, who supported her through a gradual and enigmatic decline without fully understanding the gravity of the situation. Beyond retaliation, Gloria's choice to designate Rosalind as the beneficiary was an act of trust. She was certain that Rosalind would respect her desires and that she would be able to handle the money safely. It was Gloria's last attempt to regain control over a universe that had whirled out of her control. She didn't reveal that she was aware of the affair. Her quiet was a double-edged sword that both demonstrated her fortitude and placed a heavy load on her. Gloria was adamant about seeing her plan through to the conclusion, even if her whole world had fallen apart. Gloria's actions, not her words, ultimately revealed the treachery. By giving Rosalind her inheritance, she created the conditions for the truth to come to light, painfully piece by painful piece. Her choice, even after she was gone, served as both her justice and her goodbye, a quiet affirmation that devotion and love could not be purchased or violated without repercussions. Gloria's last deed made sure that the treachery she suffered would not go unpunished, even if she never lived to see the consequences. At first, no one, not even those closest to Gloria Whitmore, suspected foul play since her deterioration started so slowly. She had been a healthy, active lady who was proud of her independence at the age of 67. Then the first little indicators appeared. Her days were infused with fatigue, which made even little chores feel insurmountable. She lost weight and her appetite decreased, which she attributed to stress or the aging process. Weeks became months, and her problems became worse. Getting sick became a regular battle. Her complexion became pale, almost sickly, and she complained of headaches that would not go away even with rest. The tests were inconclusive, and Gloria and those around her were left in the dark as the doctor's visits failed to provide any insight. Although experts were interviewed, it seemed that they all provided more questions rather than answers. This enigma was a terrible blow to a lady who had based her existence on fortitude and resiliency. Gloria made an effort to persevere and not allow her deteriorating health to define who she was. But as her health worsened, even her unwavering will was unable to conceal the obvious. Something was seriously off. One of the first to see that Gloria's deterioration wasn't just normal was Rosalind Porter, her confidant and trusty maid. After decades of being at Gloria's side, Rosalind's keen intuition saw changes that others would have missed. When Gloria's health came up in discussion, she saw how Vincent's attitude changed. His worries seemed staged, his concerns strangely artificial. Afterward, Tessa appeared. Tessa was oddly untouched by her mother's pain, Rosalind noted. Tessa seemed preoccupied and often dismissed Rosalind's questions with evasive guarantees that Mom will be fine, which Rosalind found bothersome. In contrast, Gloria's friends and extended relatives showed genuine concern. Other oddities gradually came to light. As Gloria entered the room, Rosalind began to notice that Vincent and Tessa were having whispered chats that ended quickly. She saw Tessa sneaking something into Gloria's drink on many occasions. Rosalind first wrote it off as maybe doctor-prescribed medicine. However, Gloria's deteriorating symptoms always appeared to occur at these times. Rosalind didn't have any evidence, but her gut told her something wasn't right. She was caught between wanting to be loyal to Gloria and not wanting to make a baseless charge. Rather, she continued to be watchful, silently watching, trying to put together the reality. Gloria's death was a heartbreaking moment, but it was also a relief that her pain was over. Her passing seemed to be the inevitable end of a protracted illness to everyone in her immediate vicinity. All except Rosalind, that is. Rosalind couldn't get rid of the uneasiness that had been growing inside of her for months, even after Gloria's burial brought the family together in grief. As the days went by, she started to relive every instance, every choice, and every action that didn't set well with her. The bombshell that altered everything then arrived. Gloria contained signs of a poison that had been given to her over a lengthy period of time, according to the autopsy report. Rosalind was right when she suspected that Gloria had not passed away naturally. Her poisoning had occurred. Rosalind saw this realization as a call to action, as well as confirmation of her intuition. She understood that she couldn't remain quiet. After gathering her confidence, she went to the authorities and told them all she had witnessed about Tessa over the last year, including the time she had seen her with Gloria's tea, the whispered discussions, and the mannerisms. Her thorough report served as the foundation for the inquiry. The truth was revealed by Rosalind's unshakable commitment to Gloria. Her confession to the police revealed a terrifying tale of treachery and premeditation, linking Vincent and Tessa to a crime that horrified everyone who had known Gloria. The cause of Gloria's death was known. It was a planned act, done by the same individual she had trusted and loved. And justice was at last within grasp because of Rosalind's bravery. It seemed as if Gloria Whitmore's husband, Vincent Holloway, was grieving as she was buried, but his actions revealed a different agenda. Vincent started the process of collecting on her $1.7 million life insurance policy before the inquiry into her death was finished. Although his hurry may have looked odd to many who knew him, Vincent always had the money as the ultimate aim. Although he was unaware of it, troubling evidence had already been found during the Gloria's search. Upon autopsy, it was discovered that she had ingested poison over an extended period of time. With this information, the police started to investigate more, figuring out the details of her death and her unexplained condition. Investigators' focus shifted to Gloria's closest relatives as they examined the case more closely. In her deteriorating condition, Gloria was last regularly visited by Vincent and her daughter, Tessa Whitmore. Their actions revealed nothing, but when their tales were examined further, flaws started to show. Tessa was summoned for interrogation first. Instead of coming at her with charges, the police used a tactic meant to get beyond her barriers. Presenting her with old images of Gloria and her kid in the park, celebrating birthdays, and spending peaceful, affectionate moments together, they started off with compassion. Tessa started to feel the effects of the emotional strain these memories caused. She made an effort to remain calm at first, claiming she had done nothing wrong. Her resolve, however, started to waver as the cops pressured her. "I take it that you liked your mother?" With a gentle but inquisitive tone, one detective questioned. "She gave you everything. Then why?" Tessa said, "I didn't mean for it to go this far," her voice faltering as her eyes filled with tears. Her speech faltered, but the investigators took advantage of the pause. They persisted, their inquiries skillfully crafted to provoke remorse and inner turmoil. The weight of her own acts ultimately shattered Tessa, who was surrounded and overwhelmed. Gloria had been poisoned, she admitted. She could no longer contain the words as they poured out like a deluge. She acknowledged that, under Vincent's guidance, she had been secretly adding little amounts to her mother's tea over the course of many months. Tessa's confession did not end the police investigation. They had to know how much Vincent was involved. Tessa's answer to the question of why she had done it startled even the more experienced investigators. "I followed his instructions, so I did it," she stated. "He promised that we would have the funds to live the life we desired and be together at last." Terrifying information concerning Vincent's manipulation was disclosed by Tessa. He had persuaded her that Gloria's passing was essential to their future. He took advantage of her fears by using her as a pawn in his plan and promising her love and a fresh start. The authorities focused on Vincent after obtaining Tessa's confession. When challenged, he responded predictably, denying everything and writing off Tessa's claims as desperate falsehoods. "This is a lie from her," he demanded. "I was unrelated to any of it." However, the growing evidence made his arguments seem insincere. The forensic team had been putting in a lot of effort to piece together the tangible evidence that would link Gloria's poisoning to Vincent and Tessa. The toxicology result verified that Gloria had a particular poison in her system, one that was often present in everyday items but needed to be precisely administered over time in fatal dosages. Investigators found invoices for these drugs, which were bought under Tessa's name, but with Vincent's financial support. According to bank records, Vincent was involved in transactions that indicated he had provided funding for the items required for the crime. Traces of the poison were found in Gloria's tea set and kitchenware after further examination of her possessions. Tessa's confession was supported by these facts, which also presented a clear case of premeditation. The police also discovered text messages between Vincent and Tessa, which were full of coded words and conversations that, when read in the context, made their intention quite evident. One of Vincent's most damning messages was, "Remain patient. Before long, we will have whatever we want." As Tessa's confession and the forensic evidence came to light, Vincent's denials of guilt started to fall apart. Attempting to shift the responsibility simply made him seem more cunning. At this point, the inquiry was complete. Vincent's dubious financial dealings, the forensic proof, and Tessa's heartfelt confession all conspired to eliminate any possibility of doubt. A terrifying story had been cobbled together by the detectives. A guy who married for safety took advantage of a young lady who was weak and planned the slow, deliberate killing of a wife who had put her confidence in him. Vincent and Tessa's treachery was exposed for everyone to see as the matter proceeded to trial. Despite the agony with which Gloria's life ended, her passing paved the way for the discovery of a truth that would guarantee justice. Beyond just uncovering a crime, the probe showed the depths of deceit, greed, and manipulation. The facts that ultimately took them down would define Gloria Whitmore's legacy, not the individuals who attempted to ruin her. Tessa Whitmore and Vincent Holloway's trial has underway. The narrative of treachery, avarice, and the silent courage of a lady whose love and trust had been returned with unimaginable deeds was more than just a criminal case. As the trial got underway, the courtroom was alive with suspense. In order to see the unfolding of a tale that had already rocked the town, family members, neighbors, and members of the media occupied every seat that was available. Tessa, whose eyes showed the weight of her shame, and Vincent, whose face was expressionless, were in the heart of it all. With a sobering account of Gloria Whitmore's unexplained sickness and eventual death, the prosecution systematically presented its case. The poison discovered in her system was described by forensic specialists in their testimony as having been given to her in little amounts over many months, guaranteeing her gradual and excruciating deterioration. Among the witnesses who testified were friends and neighbors who characterized Gloria as a kind and compassionate person. Their moving testimonials describe a life that was cut short by the ones she had most trusted. The most crucial part of the trial, however, was when Rosalind Porter testified. Gloria's faithful maid and confidant, Rosalind, stood out in the courtroom with her calm strength. She spoke about her decades-long friendship with Gloria, including personal information about her employer's personality, her hardships, and the slow deterioration Rosalind had personally seen. Then followed the disclosures. Rosalind spoke on how, in the months before Gloria passed away, she had seen odd behavior from Vincent and Tessa. She described her developing concerns that something was really off, the whispered talks, and the occasion she had seen Tessa making Gloria's tea. The forensic evidence and Tessa's own confession, which the prosecution presented to the court, backed up her account. Tessa's voice trembled with dread and shame as she confessed to poisoning her mother at Vincent's orders on the video. As the gravity of Rosalind's remarks set in, the courtroom fell quiet. Gloria, a lady who had suffered in silence, but whose story was now being recounted in its entirety, had a voice thanks to her testimony, which also strengthened the prosecution's case. Tessa Whitmore was portrayed in her defense as a young lady who had been used by a charming and domineering guy. Vincent, according to her lawyer, had taken advantage of Tessa's weaknesses and persuaded her to do unimaginable things out of love. However, Tessa's own culpability was indisputable. She sobbed freely throughout the trial, her regret showing in every word and every look. Although she attributed a large portion of the responsibility to Vincent, she acknowledged her activities when questioned by the prosecution. "I didn't want to do it," she added, sobbing. "He seemed to adore me. I believed that this was the only option." The jury returned with a verdict after hours of deliberation. Despite her contrived participation in the crime, Tessa was convicted guilty of second-degree murder. Her punishment was life in jail with the chance of release after 25 years. A mixture of relief and anguish characterized her response. The prospect of spending decades in prison was a devastating blow, even if she had escaped the worst punishment. As she was being brought out the courtroom, she made a short, broken appeal for forgiveness that was probably never going to happen and a mumbled apology to no one in particular. Her remorse and sorrow were evident. Conversely, Vincent Holloway showed no such regret. Despite the growing body of evidence against him, he insisted on his innocence throughout the trial. He accused everyone save himself of planning the crime, rejected Tessa's charges as untrue, and denied any involvement in it. His deception was exposed by the jury. According to the prosecution, Vincent was the brains behind the murderous scheme. He had married Gloria for money and had tricked her daughter into carrying it out. Vincent hardly batted an eye as he heard the guilty conviction of first-degree murder. When imposing the punishment, the judge was unreserved in his denunciation of his behavior. "A woman gave you everything, and you betrayed her trust," the court said. "You are abhorrent for your avariciousness, your ruthless contempt for human life, and your exploitation of people for your own benefit. You will be held accountable for your misdeeds for the rest of your life." Vincent received a sentence of life in jail without the chance of release. Tessa found the public's response to be more nuanced. Some people sympathized with her because of the manipulation she had experienced, while others denounced her behavior. Even still, not many were willing to overlook her part in her mother's demise. The trial turned into a warning, a reminder of the destructive effects of treachery and the perils of unbridled greed. Even though Gloria Whitmore's tale was heartbreaking, it made a lasting impression that made sure justice was done and her memory would go on. After her passing, Gloria Whitmore left behind a legacy of fortitude and subdued justice. In order to prevent Vincent and Tessa from benefiting from their treachery, she changed the beneficiary of her life insurance policy. In remembrance of Gloria's trust and principles, the $1.7 million was instead given to her faithful confidant, Rosalind Porter. Isolation and resentment characterized Vincent's jail existence as he dealt with the fallout from his selfishness. Feeling guilty, Tessa sent letters to her mother every day, hoping for forgiveness that would never come. Even though Gloria's tale was heartbreaking, justice prevailed. Her last deeds made sure the truth was out and her legacy was maintained. This tale of Gloria makes us think about justice and treachery. How would you respond if you were her? Would your choices have been the same? After she passed away, her life's quiet had a big impact and made sure her voice was heard. Please leave a comment below and subscribe to our channel if you would want to see more tales of justice and resiliency. We are reminded by Gloria's bravery that deeds speak louder than words, even when we are silent.